Welcome to Group 3's assessment of the North Ryde Urban Growth Precinct. Our group conducted a site visit and assessed the area using the 11 urban design principles outlined by resilientcity.org. The area is an awkward shape, with two distinct areas connected by a narrow portion which is a series of major intersections, which is also dissected by the M2 motorway. The area is bounded by several major roadways, Epping Road and M2 motorway to the south, beyond which is predominantly low-density residential, Lane Cove Road to the west, beyond which is Macquarie Park commercial industrial area and Macquarie Uni. The M2 motorway and Delhi Road to the north, beyond which is a cemetery and a waste disposal facility, and bushland and Lane Cove River to the east. The area is serviced by two underground train stations, North Ryde in the eastern portion and Macquarie Park Station in the western portion. The stations are 1.3 kilometres apart, but 1.8 kilometres by foot, which is an approximately 25-minute walk. The area is currently predominantly commercial and industrial, with low density, diversity, mix of users, building types and public spaces. The area is underutilised during evenings and weekends. There were many large vacant lots observed, and several new high-density residential construction projects were noted in the vicinity of the North Ryde station. Currently, minimal commercial, retail and social and cultural activities are in the area. However, Urban Growth New South Wales is delivering a new master plan community in the area. Pedestrians are not considered first. It is clear the area is dependent on cars. Pedestrian and cycle paths were narrow, disjointed and clearly not well planned or prioritised. For example, a pedestrian bridge over Epping Road appeared like an afterthought. It was largely unused and effective. There is also proposals for a new pedestrian bridge over the M2 and Epping and Delhi roads, connecting the new high-density residential area to the station. This may also prove ineffective. The area is supported by the two stations and a multitude of bus routes. The train line only runs east-west but connects to nearby north-south travelling lines. It was noted that relatively few people use the train at peak hour. Our observations were that the area is still very car dependent, which causes heavy traffic, which also slows buses. There was a lack of obvious landmarks and very limited placemaking, which are only in relatively newer private office properties closer to the stations. Places tended to be small open grass and landscape areas with little to no cultural attractions or vibrancy. Nothing in the way of public open space or village centre was observed in the area. However, some placemaking appears to be under construction as part of the large residential developments. Currently, there is little in the way of complete community. Only a few services such as daycares and day surgeries were provided for workers working in the area. There is little to provide the needs of daily living within 500 metres of the eastern or western portions of the area. There is also a disconnect between the two areas created by major roads such as the M2, existing smaller internal roads, existing uses and topography. The area located between the two stations had no community services to speak of. There is mixed levels of integrated natural systems in the area. Natural systems were more obvious in the relatively newer areas nearer to the stations. In the older areas, buildings clearly have done little to integrate natural systems.
The urban design principle relating to integrated technical and industrial systems aims to reduce the negative impact on the environment. A number of the for sale and lease signs for new development were observed in the area. Many of these signs advertise Green Star and or high neighbours ratings, which is positive for the environment. Train stations and buses were evident, however, vehicle traffic was observed to be high. This suggests people are choosing to drive a vehicle rather than take public transport. It appears local commercial properties provided car parking and the footpath system was not as effective as it could have been. These observations do not promote walking and the use of public transport. Our recommendations for improving the area to address this urban design principle would be to improve the effectiveness of footpaths, provide bus lanes and pull-in bus stops to reduce congestion on the road, continue to promote Green Star neighbours, and try to attract corporate tenants, which will bring low carbon footprint initiatives. Engaging the community appeared to be a challenge for the area. Epping Road appears to dissect the study area from the residential area, and therefore there appears to be a disconnection between the communities. There was not a lot of community open space, as most of it was private. This then reduces the likelihood of community engagement for future development. Our recommendation would be to create more community areas and promote community engagement through stakeholder needs identification. Redundant and durable life safety was considered in the area. It was observed the community was still heavily reliant on cars. There is good access to the train network, however, the arrangement of bus stops created uncertainty for users and increased the congestion on the road. There were very few covered areas for pedestrians to walk, which would deter people from walking in heavy storms. We are unable to comment on the key infrastructure such as water, electricity, police force, etc., without undertaking further investigations. Resilient operations were considered for the study area. A lot of the development was low-rise commercial buildings, and there was limited area for the development to sprawl. With limited vacant blocks of land, there will be a need to demolish older buildings to construct new high-rise buildings to increase density across the area. Diversity across the area is improving with large residential developments under construction. With the exception of trains, the transport network did not appear great. The area was not sympathetic to pedestrian or cyclist movements. There were no schools observed in the area, and therefore with the new residential developments there will be a need for a school. There is a large vacant site on Epping Road which used to be a school, however had been relocated a number of years ago. A recommendation to address resilient operations in the area would be to promote high density to limit the amount of sprawl and extent of essential services, promote diversity with different development types, reintroduce a school to the vacant block on Epping Road or another location.
In order to create a resilient community, diversity of the area needs to improve. This has been initiated with the mixed-use developments currently under construction. Pedestrian access was very poor and needs to be improved across the area and also between the two nodes, being the two train stations. We feel that placemaking and complete communities also needs to be improved in the area, particularly in the central portion circled here in orange. The integrated natural systems could be improved in some portions of the area, particularly the old industrial areas.
We'll also be looking to continue to promote Green Star and neighbours for existing and new development, as well as creating more community areas and promote community engagement through stakeholder needs identification. And lastly, promoting higher density across the precinct to limit the amount of sprawl or the extent of essential services required. Thank you for listening to our assessment of the urban design principles of the North Ryde precinct.